Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
It was nice to at least walk down the last few holes, or at least the last hole, knowing that it was pretty much done. It's never safe, but very proud of everybody, and of course Tiro. I mean, what a week to get his first win in a few years and win by 6 in an absolutely dominant performance the way he did. It was absolutely incredible, so I couldn't be happier for him.
Certainly with not winning for 3.5 years, you kind of naturally question if you can do it again. So I'm just proud of myself to be able to get through that and play the way I did.
Welcome to hour number 3 live right here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. It is our third and final hour. We will preview everything you need to know around this Monday slate in Major League Baseball. It is officially time to say new week, new money. DRS diving through the numbers. WOBA, ISO Power, XFIP, everything you need to know to get you ready for this Monday card around MLB. We'll have the proper perspective on this Monday. We'll go around the daily basis, touch them all with our guy Craig Mish up next as well. One more hour to go to start off the opening day of this new week.
Yeah, noon Major League Baseball today on a Monday, post-holiday Monday, which is nice to sort of kickstart. Now, I think last Monday, what do we have, 3 Major League Baseball games? So it feels like we're getting a windfall today with 7 overall as we head into that All-Star break. And by the way, just like the little PSA out there for the people, I'm telling you right now, the most tricky day in the betting market in Major League Baseball throughout the entire season starts on Sunday, where the majority of these baseball players are not going to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game weekend here. They are going to the Bahamas, to the wherever across the United States, Las Vegas. One thing we do, they're not going to Omaha, but they're going out there to party at this point, and we'll see it happen. Watch out for Sunday.
What has Omaha ever done to you outside of my affinity for it for living there for 2 years? What is the consistent shot at Omaha? Twice in the last half an hour, even since the end of the Men's College World Series.
Just putting the word out there. Like, there are other places we can play college championships than Indianapolis and Omaha here. That's just one of my things as commissioner. I'll make sure that we spread the wealth around this great nation. That's all.
Yeah, go to Miami, where they can't even get 35% of the crowd in there for the biggest regular season game of their season last year against Louisville. Let's go to Las Vegas. That sounds like a great place to play college sports. Which college team is in Las Vegas outside of UNLV? Enough with it, DRS. I'm going to have everybody that backs Omaha come at you like that one time you took a shot at Donovan Mitchell trying to stay in Cleveland and you got roasted on social media. And this time I'm going to retweet all the hate coming your way.
They know. They understand. Like, deep down, they might get angry at that. It's like, you have a family member like, don't you talk trash on my crazy brother-in-law or my crazy brother at that point. But then again, I can do it at this point. So people get a little bit upset at there, but deep down they understand. Like, you're living right now in Omaha, like on 7th Avenue over there, going like, man, if I could only save up enough money to get down to Miami. We know the drill.
There's not a 7th Avenue in Omaha, Nebraska. Anyway, let's go to... let's go to what we are doing here on this show. We want to hear from the people earlier in our second hour, DRS, and really throughout the show today. After the long 4th of July weekend, 1 week out from the MLB All-Star break, we updated the odds. We looked at the new numbers, World Series prices, individual races for that hardware, and in the American League pennant. Now to the National League side of things. If the season ended today, who would be your best bet to win the National League pennant? That was the question in Fade the Public. Which team will win the National League pennant? Between the Dodgers, Phillies, Braves. A couple of updated numbers to bring you as well. The Dodgers remain the favorites, as they have been all year long, dating back to the offseason in the big-time acquisitions of Yoshi Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, Tyler Glasnow, so on and so forth. The Dodgers plus 150. The Phillies, second best number, plus 250. The Braves, third best price at plus 450, then a large drop-off to Milwaukee. Donnie, the winners of the Fade the Public poll must have been influenced by you splashing that Riz Twiz. The Phils, nearly 48% of the vote. That's the public's favorite to win the National League pennant.
It makes the most sense, too, because if you're just taking a look at the completeness of a roster, again, this is no slight on the Braves here. They're going to make the playoffs. They're a quality organization. They're getting great starting pitching from guys that maybe we didn't think would be great starting pitchers this year. And also your boy Schwellenbach over the weekend with a nice start against the Philadelphia Phillies, maybe starting his Major League Baseball career in the right direction. They'll make moves, but at the end, we just don't think they're going to be talented enough. The one thing that we do know, the Phillies are a complete roster construction this year. A very good bullpen, a solid 1 through 9, and the best starting staff in Major League Baseball. And you can see with how many starters and how many players they placed on the Major League Baseball All-Star team. The one thing we know about the Dodgers, star talent, absolutely they have it. But the one thing they don't have right now is a guarantee from that starting pitching staff going into the playoffs that they're going to be ready. Now, granted, they're going to make moves at the deadline. Nobody has more ammunition, whether it's prospects or money, than the Los Angeles Dodgers. You know they're going to improve their team, which is what you're basing it off of. But also, that 48%, let's call it that, for the Philadelphia Phillies, also goes into the Dodgers' price point is plus 150. The Phillies' price point is plus 250. It's probably more value right now in the Philadelphia Phillies as you wait for them to get their starters and their all-star players back in that lineup. JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, and also Bryce Harper at this point. So I do think a lot of factors into, like if you would have role reverse there, Ben, Phillies plus 150, Dodgers plus 250, you'd have got more bets there on the Dodgers. But some people looking at that price point saying, well, you know what, at plus 150, if I think the Dodgers are good, I'll still take the Phillies at the plus 250, because if it's a coin flip, what are you going to do, Ben? You're going to take the better price. And I think some people just might have voted that way.
And the Phils actually have a better track record over the past few years of at least getting to that stage. They have played in the NLCS each of the past 2 years. Of course, the National League pennant winners in 2022. We have seen a lot of chaos come October with the new 6-team and expanded Major League Baseball postseason bracket. Might we see that case now? Because, again, winning the National League pennant is winning the entirety of the National League, not having the best record, being one of the top 2 seeds, or even making it to the postseason. The Dodgers have a very short number, and even without my Philly bias, I voted for Philadelphia as well. 48% of the vote backing that up. I think the Phils have a better starting staff at this moment than the Dodgers. Of course, the LA team with a ton of talent even on the IL. Enter Mookie Betts, who was probably going to win National League MVP before getting injured this season. I'm still going to look at Philadelphia when all is said and done in a best-of-7 playoff series, even if it's against the Dodgers, and give them the slight edge. I think Atlanta's going to be a factor in the postseason, but would not bet on the Braves to win the National League pennant, and I'm not sure I would go outside of that anywhere else. To me, it does seem to be a 2-team race, although we have seen craziness happen each of the past 2 Major League Baseball playoff runs. In fact, Donnie, when you look at those 2 numbers, plus 150 for LA, plus 250 for Philadelphia, to name the finalists, to get the pairing of the 2 teams that will square off in a National League Championship Series, it's plus 230. Already a short price for it to be the Dodgers versus the Phils.
You figure it's going to wind up that direction, but what do we know, Ben, about the advent of the extra wild card teams put in there? We haven't seen it play out as chalk moves on like you probably would see in, let's just say, like the NBA, where it's designed to have the better teams advance, and rightfully so. You have those short series. In the NBA, they did away from the 3 and the 5 game series because they want the better teams to move forward, because the ratings usually dictate, and that's what the fan wants, and I would absolutely agree with that. That's what's tough. If I say right now the Dodgers and the Phillies are the 2 best teams in the National League, I honestly believe that. But we haven't seen that play out in the playoffs for quite some time at this point. We'll see if it does this year. But again, I voted for the Phillies at that plus 250 price, and almost 50% of the votes total coming in on the Phillies. So I think we have a favorite in this one. So I'm certainly not going to fade it that way. But again, a long way to go in this baseball season, as we're only about halfway through. But it looks like the Dodgers and the Phillies, to me, the cream of the crop here in the National League.
Best of 3 in the wild card round. The 2 top seeds in each league do get that opening round bye to the division series. That's only best of 5. Best of 7 starts in the CS and, of course, in the World Series. It's almost like DRS is operating our SportsGrid TV Twitter account that was the first reply in our Fade the Public poll, with Donnie talking about the Phillies being in that top tier in the National League. Our guy, Mammoth Hops, don't let us in the playoffs, he says, with a gif of Paul Skeens and a wink. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Kent Ritchie saying the Brew Crew. And Double M Matt Miller saying the New York Mets, trying to ride that momentum back to 500 after a great month of June. What about Craig Mish? He'll go around the daily basis with us. Up next, a special Monday edition next on the Early Line. England survived yesterday in the Euro round of 16. They score into stoppage time, and then in extra time, they score the game winner.
You want to wait to the very final minutes? And I say this again, Ben. I don't know. I think you were here last year for my rant on this. Why don't we just play soccer the way you play it when you're down a goal with like 5 minutes to go?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and, came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that, a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
A long holiday weekend around Major League Baseball. So who better to update you on everything you need to know with the insight of our MLB insider, Craig Mish. Here on the daily basis, the host of Newswire, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Craig, how was the 4th of July weekend? What did you do? Did you have a good time?
Yes, as we talked about, I went to a couple of baseball games, Marlins Red Sox on July 3rd, Marlins Red Sox on July 4th. But, those Marlins White Sox games, I mean, those were, a high ticket item. I couldn't afford to do that. So, I sat out those. But no, it was a great, fun weekend and good to take a day or two off here. And, I'll have next week off as well to go to the All-Star game. So a good time of the year for me.
Craig Mish will be in Arlington for some of that All-Star game action. So we ask him about the All-Star selections. It's how we lead off. Get it? Lead off, baseball term. It's time to touch them all. It's the daily basis. Craig. All right, I'm probably going to stop doing that now. Craig, as we look at the All-Star selections for both leagues, in both the American League and the National League, all the All-Star picks that we had, a couple of things stand out. 33 first-time MLB All-Star selections, 19 under the age of 27 years old. It reflects what we are seeing all around the bigs. Let's start with the American League. When you look at the AL All-Stars, what stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I think you said it best, Ben. I think that this is the future of what the All-Star game is going to be. I personally don't find an issue with it. You're just simply going to have a game that doesn't mean anything. You're going to have a lot of players who have never played in the game. A lot of players sitting out. Injuries are at an all-time high as far as pitchers are concerned. I would not be surprised at all. That number's 33 right now, Ben. I mean, it may be 40, honestly, by the time the weekend comes, because just simply put, you're going to have guys dropping out. Look, it's a exhibition game. It doesn't matter anymore. I want to see, especially from a pitching perspective in the American League, I think a really cool story. By the way, at some point in this game will be Mason Miller. He's going to make his first appearance. I know it's Oakland, so they don't get a lot of love there. But Mason Miller pumping 100, I think, for the American League is going to be really cool. And so, I think in the end, you don't know what the hitters are going to be. But you do know who's going to pitch. I'm sure we'll talk about that in the National League. But for me, that's kind of the story. Look, if all we're talking about is guys pumping 100 constantly, I think that's kind of what we want to see, are those great matchups between the pitchers and the batters.
I think it's really fun, too. And we talked about it earlier, Craig. I'd still like the All-Star game in Major League Baseball better than the other ones because it's the closest you're going to get to the regular sport during the regular season. But if you do look at the American League pitchers, I mean, it used to be like star, household name. And you can take a look at Anderson, Burns, Clase, Crochet, Gilbert, Holmes, Houck, Lugo, Miller, Reagans, Screwball, and Yates. I love to see the fresh faces in the All-Star game. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, again, I think this is what the future is going to be. People are so shocked that so many first-name guys are in it. I mean, it's a young person's league at this point, and any veteran who's been to the game once, twice, 3 times, Donnie, it's just, it's nice to be named an all-star, but it's nicer to have that time off when you're pushing for the postseason. So I totally get it. And, you mentioned a couple of names. I mean, Scooble and Corbin Burns, obviously those are great pitchers. But we like the matchups, right? And what would a matchup look? And I mentioned Miller earlier for Oakland. What would a matchup in the 5th inning look like with Miller against Ohtani? Like that. Those are the kind of stories I think that we like to talk ourselves into. And so I do understand the direction that the All-Star game has gone. I personally have had a lot more fun at the Home Run Derby, but needless to say, it's still a very good display of the best talent in the game.
Donnie, if we're going to round all the bases, that's 4 of them. We can't be asking follow-up questions about the AL pitchers. We got to go to the National League now, Craig, as we look at the NL side of things. But we will focus on the pitchers. Could Paul Skeens, the Rook, get the start in the Midsummer Classic in 8 days in Arlington?
He should. I mean, that's the right decision for Major League Baseball. No one is tuning into this game on any broadcast on Fox or anywhere else in the 7th inning. It's an all-star game. People are done. You do not want him coming into the game. I've been to a lot of all-star games. Ben, it doesn't matter what the ticket prices are. People leave the game. People leave the all-star game, even in person. I've seen this before. It's very exciting for a few innings, and then it's an exhibition, and people just want to go home and everyone's swinging at the first pitch. Absolutely, Skeens should start. If he doesn't, okay, fine. I get it. It's a big honor to start the All-Star game. If they think, he's just a rookie, shouldn't, all right, fine. Put him in the 2nd or 3rd inning.
I love it. Skeens should be out there dominating. He's going to get all those eyeballs on him. If we are taking a look at the Phillies and the Braves, we'll be well represented in this All-Star game. But after this weekend, the Braves get the upper hand on the Philadelphia Phillies. They were as many as 10 games back, now back to 8 games back. The Phillies and the Braves throughout the rest of the regular season. What can we anticipate here, Craig?
Yeah, I don't know that it'll be much of a race. I still think the Phillies are there. They got 7 All-Stars in this thing. Harper's hurt. Schwarber's been hurt. JT Realmuto's hurt. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Phillies are on fumes right now. They need the break more than anyone. I think come August, September, they'll get reinforcements, Donnie, let those guys get healthy. I do think at this point, I would still take the Phillies. I mean, it goes without saying to win the division. But that being said, Atlanta's extremely creative. And I do think that they'll have a lot to say come the trade deadline. And I don't think the Braves are looking at this wild card by any means and saying, oh, this is terrible, because they keep winning the division and going nowhere with it. So I think they'll embrace this situation.
6 consecutive seasons for Atlanta winning the National League East. Maybe something new leads to better horizons in October. Craig, as we look at the top 10 of the World Series odds, 10 best prices following the 4th of July, 1 week out from the All-Star break, is there a price that you think is being undervalued from the odds maker's perspective at this moment?
Yeah, still probably Baltimore. I think that's the one. You know, I just don't know what they're going to do in a few weeks. I don't anticipate them being super aggressive. It's just not the way that they operate. So Baltimore would be the price. But what's really fascinating to me as we wrap it up, Ben, and Donnie, you think about this. You just showed a board with World Series odds. And the 2 teams that got to the World Series last year are not even there. Like, that is kind of crazy when you think about it. And by the way, it ain't September. I mean, this is July, and the Rangers and Diamondbacks may be out of this thing. I mean, that's sort of unprecedented to me.
And the D-backs have the better price at 70-1. The Rangers 6 games below 500. Great. The reigning champs 80-1. Greg, we appreciate the time. More baseball around the bigs up next. England survived yesterday in the Euro round of 16. They score in the stoppage time, and then in extra time, they score the game winner.
You want to wait to the very final minutes? And I say this again, Ben. I don't know. I think you were here last year for my rant on this. Why don't we just play soccer the way you play it when you're down a goal with like 5 minutes to go?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and, you know, came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots and we've talked about it on here that, you know, a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Like cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
A Monday around Major League Baseball. Not many games on the card in MLB today, but still some that are very good. In fact, one that starts in just over 2 hours in Pittsburgh, the fourth and final game of the continued weekend set between the Pirates and the Mets. But first, we start out west. We talked about the reigning World Series champs with Craig Mish moments ago. Texas, a sweep this weekend over the Rays, but the Rangers had dropped 8 of their last 10 entering. Can they find their way back to 500 in the next few days? By the time we get to the All-Star break, Texas in Anaheim today, taking on their divisional foes, the Angels, and they're a minus 142 road favorite. What does Texas need to do this week, Donnie, to maybe get back to the surface of being a playoff contender?
I mean, basically just play better than 500 baseball. Like, let's just say you have 7 games in a week, just go 4-3, and in 2 or 3 weeks, you're probably right back into the race. And that's not even playing great baseball, which again starts today. You're taking on a team you should handle in the Los Angeles Angels. You have the pedigree pitcher on the mound. Doesn't always mean you're going to win. John Gray on the road, you take a look at 108 batters that he's faced over the past 30 days, both home and away. Look at the ISO power number, 196 elevated. Look at the weighted on base percentage, 386. He's been getting crushed from left-handed bats to a tune of a 320 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 519. He's done very well against right-handed batters. Now, why is that key? Only 3 left-handed batters expected in the lineup today for the Angels. That might help John Gray out. Now, if we flip it over to the other side, we're still waiting for that Rangers lineup to wake up, and quite frankly, it gets better on a day-to-day basis. Simeon, Seager, Smith, Garcia, Lowe, Langford, Heim, Hill, and Tavares. It's not a bad-looking lineup. Davis Daniel, the right-handed pitcher, is going to be on the mound. Only 51 batters he's faced over the past 30 days in his Major League Baseball 2024 career. 269 ISO, 360 weighted on base percentage to right-handed batters. You should be getting a better lineup for the Rangers and a better pitcher on the mound. Therefore, they should be able to take care of business on the road today against the Angels.
Yeah, should be a move for the Rangers. Could it be 4 consecutive wins? Let's see what Texas has tonight in Anaheim. The Guardians on the road in Detroit. Cleveland, a series weekend win. A walk-off, or not quite a walk-off yesterday, but Bo Naylor, a big 3-run shot as a pinch hitter. They take on the Tigers. Detroit phenomenal with Tarek Skubal on the bump yesterday to sweep the Cincinnati Reds. Tonight in the Motor City, the Guardians, the best team in the American League, a road favorite against their divisional foes. Will the game back up what the pregame odds say?
And you're basically just looking at those odds, let's just say a minus 148 place here to the Guardians by saying they're just a better overall team. And quite frankly, they are. I don't know how much of a pitching advantage we have either side because most of these guys don't have a lot of at-bats under their belt. I should say batters under their belt. Gavin Williams, 21 batters he's faced, a 417 weighted on base percentage. Detroit doesn't have a great lineup, but a couple of those guys do present themselves well against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. That's Cole Keith, that's Riley Green, and that's Carson Kelly. If you're looking for RBI chances from a Detroit perspective, that's where you're going. Flip it over to the other side for the Tigers. Got Montero on the mound. He's only got 67 total batters on the season, which include 48 of those batters over the past 30 days. His ISO power number against, 220. Weighted on base percentage against, 373. That doesn't line up all that well because the one thing we do know, that's a quality lineup here for the Cleveland Guardians. Just by default, you're probably taking the Guardians. Why? They're just the better baseball team right now.
8.5 that total today in Detroit as well. I would side with the Guardians. Another American League Central Divisional duel. And anytime the pitcher that is listed on the FanDuel Sportsbook as TBD, but you are still a minus 180 road favorite, you know your opponent is the Chicago White Sox. These are the games the Twins have to win to keep pace in the American League Central. They take on baseball's worst team, that's Chicago. The White Sox right now, the record, 26-66. It is the worst in MLB by a large margin. The only team that has less than 30 wins so far this season. Will the Twins get a big victory today on the South Side?
Yeah, the Twins should be able to win in a runaway here. Just take a look at Chris Flexen on the mound. He can't get left-handed batters out. 9 of the batters today that will be facing Chris Flexen, 6 of those will be from the left-hand side, including some of those switch hitters. You're taking a look at a lineup that doesn't strike out a lot against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days against a pitcher that doesn't strike out a lot of guys. So base balls will be in play tonight, and you're taking a look at a lot of high weighted on base percentages. Matter of fact, 7 out of the 9 batters tonight, elevated weighted on base percentages over the past 30 days for the Twins going up against right-handed pitchers. This should be a pretty easy one tonight. So if you're looking at team totals and RBI chances, they'll come from the Twins tonight. They should win this one.
Yeah, they should. They are the favorites to do so at minus 180 on the money line in Chicago. In fact, the two worst teams outside of the White Sox, that would be the Marlins and the Rockies, battling it out for that bottom spot in the National League. Still, each team has 32 wins. That's 6 more than the White Sox. Prop perspective on this Monday next. England survived yesterday in the Euro round of 16. They score into stoppage time, and then in extra time, they score the game winner.
You want to wait to the very final minutes? And I say this again, Ben. I don't know. I think you were here last year for my rant on this. Why don't we just play soccer the way you play it when you're down a goal with like 5 minutes to go?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots and we've talked about it on here that a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The prop perspective on this Monday, that means only one thing. Our jack of all trades, Tom Vecchio, back here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid, the home run prop king. 1 week out from the home run derby in Arlington. And, of course, a look at all that we have around a 7-game slate in Major League Baseball on this Monday. Not just that, Vecchio, but a future forecast as well following the 4th of July holiday weekend. Hope your Independence Day and the long holiday weekend was great. Glad to have you here on this Monday.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We are in, I want to say moving towards the dog days of the MLB season. I want to make a quick note that early before the season started, I said Bobby Witt to lead the league in hits, and right now, about halfway through the year, he's number 1 in the league with 119 hits. I'm ready to get going.
He is doing that right now. 119 for Bobby Witt in KC, 118 for Luis Arias for now the San Diego Padres. Vecchio, let's go big picture to start, then we'll dwindle it down to the 7-game slate on this Monday around Major League Baseball. We've looked at the World Series odds a few times here on this show. The Dodgers still the short favorites at 3-1. The updated numbers, the Phils and the Yanks tied for that second best price at 5-1. The Orioles 7-1. The Braves a 9-1 number. That's the top 5. An $11 drop-off to the American League's best team in the Guardians. There's 4 teams at that 20-1 price. So, Vecchio, where does your attention go first? The top of the board, the Dodgers, the Phils, the Yanks, or maybe some longer prices and some value deeper down the board?
Yeah, it would be moving down the board with the Guardians. And like you said, best record. I don't want to say that they have the division locked up right now, but they're looking pretty good. It comes down to the trade deadline. Can they acquire another frontline starter? I want to say their pitching is good right now. They have great hitting. It's not always a ton of power, but Stephen Kwan at the top of that lineup, getting on base, producing runs when they need to, but can they acquire another elite pitcher to have them go head-to-head with those two frontline starters, which you really need to have in the playoffs? So I like them. I don't think there's value on the Orioles, the Yankees, or any of those teams. The Braves are a bit of a mystery to me right now. They look good. They look horrible. They're all over the place. So give me the Orioles right now. Not the Orioles. Give me the Guardians at 20-1.
Let me ask you a quick question on this too, Tom. You take a look at that AL West, which is so mangled and crazy right now. The Mariners and the Astros are a 20-1 price. The Rangers at an 80-1 price. If you're looking at the Mariners, what are the expectations moving forward post All-Star break? It looked like they were going to easily win this division, and now they're fighting with the Astros, who should be dead, and the Rangers, who can't get out of their own way. What are we looking at that AL West here in that market?
For the Mariners, they got to acquire some hitting, right? They have the pitching up there. They have Kirby. They have Logan Gilbert. I think they have what it takes when it comes to the pitching, but they just do not have the offense. And, J-Rod got hurt. He left the game. He has the MRI. Like, what are they doing? Pete Alonso's name keeps popping up. Whether he'll be traded there. So they have to get the hitting going, because I just can't trust them to produce enough to even have a shot to make the playoffs, because this dogfight that they're in, I think, is going to happen until literally the last weekend of the season.
I think the best value on the Houston Astros is plus 125 to win the American League West. And if that's going to be the case, then you might have some value in the American League pennant prices as well on the Stros. But there's a lot of baseball to be played. Seattle struggling at this moment. They have lost 9 of their last 13. Let's go individual now, Vecchio. The American League award races that we have. Of the components that we have up here, 6 awards with odds available on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Only 2 of the 6 have a non-minus money, plus money favorite. Tarek Skubal in front of Corbin Burns in the Cy Young race. Wyatt Langford of the Texas Rangers barely in front of Luis Hill in the American League Rookie of the Year odds. Vecchio, of the American League award races, which to you is most compelling?
It's got to be the AL MVP. We know Judge is looking like the runaway favorite as of now. I think Gunnar Henderson has a clear case to be made for him as well. But I got to go with my guy Bobby Witt at 20-1. Getting on base, producing runs, producing offense. Will he ever have the same amount of home runs as Henderson or Judge? Of course not. He's never going to have the same amount of RBIs, all those sorts of things. But at his price, I think he's a realistic third option right now. And I think the odds are just a little bit too long.
If we're taking a look at the National League here, it looks like it's going to be Shohei Ohtani's to lose at this point. It's a minus 330 price, which means he's headway above Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman and Marcell Ozuna. Let me ask you this question, because it's easy to say, is Ohtani going to win it, because he's favored to? Give me an idea on Bryce Harper and let's just say Freddie Freeman. Is there any way they can close the gap on Shohei Ohtani, and how can they get that done?
If Harper comes back and he's producing home runs at a high rate, and we see maybe Mookie Betts come back around the same time. If we see Ohtani's stats on a head-to-head basis, we have to look at the fact that he's being surrounded by 2 other MVP caliber players when Harper isn't. I know Schwarber's great, and I know Alec Baum's having an awesome season, but on a head-to-head basis, if we see that Harper's doing more individually compared to Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, these 2 perennial all-stars that are kind of I want to say protecting Ohtani in the lineup, we can look at Harper as a viable MVP candidate on a year-to-year basis.
Plus 950, that number for Harper. The odds so strong for both Judge and Ohtani in either league in the MVP race that there is Aaron Judge versus the American League field and Shohei Ohtani versus the National League field available to bet as well. The reigning National League pennant winners off to a slow start this year, but the D-backs playing better baseball as of late. They've won 6 of their last 8. They host the Atlanta Braves, who avoided the weekend sweep at home against the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. But Chris Sale, who you saw in National League Cy Young contention, and the hefty odds-on favorite to win the new Comeback Player of the Year award in the National League, on the bump today in Phoenix. Atlanta nearly a $2 favorite on the road in Arizona. Are the odds correct, Tom?
I think the odds are looking fine. Sale has been tremendous. I got to say, I was pretty low on him coming into the year. Didn't expect it, at least as consistently as he's been doing it. We know the strikeouts would always be there for Sale, but would it be as consistent? He's obviously proving me wrong. I know for today, I like going to Ozzie Albies for 2+ total bases. A bit of a slow start to the year. Spent some time on the IL. He's going up against Gilbert Diaz, who is making should be making his first start for the Diamondbacks. We look to Ozzy Albies in terms of month over month after the IL. His ISO, his WRC+, his WOBA, his BABIP, they're all increasing in July. Granted, it's only a 6-game sample size, but they were also increasing in June. So he's trending upward after a really rough start to the year with the injury. So Albies 2+ total bases today.
First game on the night slate here tonight, Tom. Not a lot of household names, particularly from the pitching end of it. Williams versus Montero, minus 148 favorite, at the FanDuel Sportsbook for the road team, the Cleveland Guardians, in a total of 8.5. Cleveland, Detroit. What can we look forward to tonight on that one?
It's going to Gavin Williams under 4.5 strikeouts at minus 111. This is only his second start of the year. He played 74 pitches in the first start, so it's not like he's going to be up at 90, 95 pitches. It'll be maybe in the mid to low 80s. He had 82 innings pitched last year at a 23.5% strikeout rate. He also had a 10.7% walk rate. And yes, this year in AAA, a bit of a smaller sample size. The strikeouts were going for him, but the walks are still an issue. And yeah, the Tigers strike out at 24.2% versus righties, which is the 8th worst in the league. I just don't see him lasting that long deep into the game, especially if the walks continue to pile up. That will drive up his pitch count. And ultimately, he's a modest strikeout pitcher overall. Yes, we're seeing a higher rate in AAA this year, but last year in the majors, it was only at 23.5%, which is super, super average. So under 4.5 for Williams today.
When you look at the numbers right now, minus 148 in favor of Cleveland, the Guardians, the best record in all of the American League. Vecchio, exactly 1 week from today in Arlington, the 2024 Home Run Derby. Pete Alonso in the field, but not many others. Gunnar Henderson, Alec Boehm. When are we going to find out the full list of 8 to compete in the Home Run Derby?
That should be coming out this week. I got to say, I have a lot of interest if Christian Walker makes the list. I think he's been awesome as of late, obviously terrorizing the Dodgers over the weekend with multiple home runs. So if he makes the list, I'll be on board with that. I don't expect Judge to go. If Ohtani's in there, he's probably going to be one of the favorites. I think that's fine. But again, as I said last year, it comes down to the bracket. Which player has the path to winning multiple rounds the easiest, and we'll get those odds when they come out.
Christian Walker, slightly snubbed from the National League All-Star team, maybe with a grudge or a chip on the shoulder to be there at the Home Run Derby. That's why he's the home run prop king. Even a week out from the Derby, he lets you know what you need to know. Vecchio, I hope we talk next week to look at the actual bracket of 8 for the Home Run Derby, and you can shine. Thank you for being here, as always, for the prop perspective on this Monday. More plays around MLB up next. England survived yesterday in the Euro round of 16. They score into stoppage time, and then in extra time, they score the game winner.
You want to wait to the very final minutes? And I say this again, Ben. I don't know. I think you were here last year for my rant on this. Why don't we just play soccer the way you play it when you're down a goal with like 5 minutes to go?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and, came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that, a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What, are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Only 7 games on this Monday Major League Baseball card, but this is where Donnie right side shines. He can really iron out and sharpen those WOBA and ISO power numbers to make sure you have the best of all of the bets for this Monday baseball card. Donnie, a game we hit on with Tom Vecchio. He likes Ozzie Albies to have a good day at the dish. That's the Braves and the D-backs in Arizona. Again, the Diamondbacks back to 500 for the first time in a long time. Winners of 6 of their last 8. The Braves avoiding a sweep at home this weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies, but a 6-0 blanking victory yesterday for Atlanta. They are nearly a $2 road favorite on that money line price with Chris Sale, now their de facto ace, on the bump. What do you like today in downtown Phoenix?
Yeah, it looks like I didn't put a ton of research into Diaz just yet here, the lefty, because some outlets still reporting him back as maybe a TBD coming to pitch. So maybe it's an open at this point. Maybe we're just going to get a couple innings. We don't know about that. The one thing we do know is the total is going to be 8 and a minus 190 price, which probably means that Atlanta probably is a very good parlay piece to throw into the equation. Now, typically, do I love putting parlays, just money line? Not necessarily, but Sale's been fantastic. The lineup here, after winning 2 out of 3 games against the Phillies and looking to close strong before you get to the All-Star break, I think it does make some sense. But let's just take a look at how Diaz is a lefty. Let's just say he pitches more than 1 inning and you try to factor it in. The one thing that we do know, the Atlanta Braves have done very well over the past 30 days against left-handed pitching. You take a look from Kelenic down to Murphy, which we anticipate they're 1 through 6. Every single one of those players, Ben, above average ISO power numbers past 30 days and weighted on base percentage. But here's the thing that sometimes you run into, because I don't care what it is. No Major League Baseball is easy, and we saw Chris Sale lose a minus 300 game earlier this season. Why? Because they lost 1-0. Your hitters have to come to play. Having said that, Sale has been phenomenal. We know that. But take a look at this lineup for the Diamondbacks over the past 30 days against left-handed pitching. They're 1 through 6. Every single one of those players, Ben, high ISOs, high weighted on base percentages. Now, granted, you're just looking at those average lefty pitchers. That's not where you're getting at a Chris Sale. Do I think the Braves win this game? Absolutely. It's just tough to bet because you don't really know what you're going to get out of the pitching perspective for the Diamondback side. Easy for me to come on here and say Atlanta's the right play. No kidding. They're close to 2-1 favorite.
So the Diamondbacks did win the final 2 games against the Padres. The Padres, before the final 2 games of this series in San Diego, had won 12 of its last 15. Successful for Arizona. They also won their series, that went into the 4th of July against the LA Dodgers. And as Tom Vecchio mentioned, Christian Walker, 5 RBIs in the 3-game set at the Ravine in Los Angeles. 5 RBIs, 5 home runs in that 3-game set against the LA Dodgers. So Arizona trying to continue the momentum despite being a home underdog today. Now we go to the earliest game on the card, the 4th and final of an extended weekend series between the Mets and the Pirates in Pittsburgh. The Pirates as a home moneyline favorite today, looking to split this 4-game set. The New York Mets looking for a series victory as the underdog on the moneyline today. Early start, 12:36 p.m. Eastern Time. What gives inside PNC?
And by the way, 87 degrees here at first pitch. There's going to be a cooker out there at PNC Park. If you take a look at the wind conditions, not really going to help either way. Slight wind blowing out to left field. If you take a look at Mitch Keller, here's sometimes what's tough, which can trip you up when you're trying to back RBI props. You look at Mitch Keller the last 30 days, 107 total batters he's faced, a 247 ISO and a 357 weighted on base percentage. That's not going to get it done here. But if you take a look at his home starts this year, he has, 50 2/3 innings pitched, Ben, to a 3.02 ERA and an xFIP number of 3.80. If we take a look at the last 60 days for Mitch Keller here, and if we include both away starts and home starts, a 2.65 ERA and a 4.05 xFIP, which actually rises a little bit. The one thing that we do know is PNC Ballpark, that is a true pitcher's paradise there. We'll see if it holds up. Now, here's the issue once again. The Grimace Mets that we like to talk about over the past 30 days, they've been wonderful at the plate. Now, they showed up yesterday, didn't hit their team total, but still ended up getting that win and helped me out quite a bit. You look at Lindor, Nimmo, Martinez, Alvarez, Vientos, Taylor, and also Bader, all above average against right-handed pitchers over the past 30 days. So I think the better overall lineup is probably coming in from a Mets perspective. But let's turn it over on the opposite side. Not a lot of great hitters in that Pittsburgh lineup. McCutchen, Reynolds, and Rowdy Tellez all elevated ISO and weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. The problem is we don't have a lot to go off of over the past 30 days for Christian Scott. His ISO power number through 24 batters, 182. That's elevated. A 346 weighted on base percentage, that's elevated here. So if you're just looking to trust that Mets lineup, I understand, but I envision this more like what we saw yesterday. Even though it's hot, it's humid, it's muggy, it's hitting conditions, I could see this game probably staying under the total here at that point. Keller's the better pitcher, obviously, because he's the veteran guy, but it's going to be interesting to see how that Mets lineup that has shown so well against right-handed pitching against Keller, who's been very good at home. That's an interesting concept here.
Brian Reynolds, an all-star in the National League, plus 140 to record an RBI, tied for the second best price with Frankie. Francisco Lindor, an all-star snub perhaps in the NL, the game-winning 2 RBI single yesterday in the top of the 9th against the Pirates. A bad weekend for the Reds, swept by the Tigers. The Rockies actually won the weekend at home against the Royals, despite KC playing 10 yesterday to avoid a sweep. Not exactly the sexiest matchup, but when there's only 7 games in a Monday card, we give you them all. Cincy, a home favorite today against the Rockies. DRS, what do you like?
Not great pitchers, but by the way, the worst pitcher on the card today based on the last 60 days is Andrew Abbott. Hear me out, though. He's a left-handed pitcher with an ERA of 3.26 over the past 60 days. Donnie, how could that be? Well, you take a look here at that xFIP number, Ben. Guess what? 5.28. That's something where you're waiting for that sort of dynamite keg right now. Look at the 86-degree temperatures and a light wind blowing out to left field in Cincinnati, and opposite of PNC Bank Park here. This is a true hitter's ballpark at Great American Ballpark. If you flip it over to Colorado, their pitcher Ryan Feltner, if we're looking at his away starts this season, typically are going to be better than his home starts. However, still a 4.65 ERA and almost the same xFIP number at 4.43. First 4 guys in that lineup you might want to take a look at for RBI shots for the Reds. That's India, De La Cruz, Candelario, and Steer. Outside of that, that lineup isn't very good at all. So some of those numbers going to be interesting to try to meld once we see those final starting rosters today.
Despite not recording a single RBI or hit all year long in Donnie's mind, Ellie De La Cruz, a first-time All-Star in the National League. That is something that you would never expect. A pick'em in our 7th and final game coming up next in our Major League Baseball preview here on the Early Line. England survived yesterday in the Euro round of 16. They score into stoppage time, and then in extra time, they score the game winner.
You want to wait to the very final minutes? And I say this again, Ben. I don't know. I think you were here last year for my rant on this. Why don't we just play soccer the way you play it when you're down a goal with like 5 minutes to go?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and, came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that, a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What, are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The first baseball game of 7 on this Monday in MLB starts in just about an hour and a half in Pittsburgh between the Pirates and the Mets. The second game, also some afternoon baseball in the nation's capital between the Nationals and the Cardinals. It's the 2 extended 4-game sets from the weekend that was. St. Louis and Washington. It is an even pick'em right now, minus 108 on both sides, 9.5 the total today between the Nats and the Cards. What do you like here, DRS, between the Redbirds and the Nats?
Usually I would say to myself, of course you would like an over. Why? 95 degrees at first pitch, close to 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field. Like, that ball really should just carry, right? And you take a look at the Washington Nationals lineup. They've done very well against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. If we flip it over to St. Louis, not so much against left-handed pitching, which will give the advantage to the Washington Nationals. If we're trying to line up and say to ourselves, okay, home and away splits, what gives here? Miles Michaelis, 57 innings pitched here on the road this season. He's got a 4.42 ERA, which isn't great. But take a look at the xFIP. That drops to 3.69, so getting a little bit unlucky here. Let's go over here now to take a look at some of those home splits as we take a look at the Washington Nationals pitcher on the mound here, who is the young left-hander in Mitchell Parker. Mitchell Parker at home, 3.11 ERA and a 3.80 xFIP. So if I'm looking at it like this, it's a Monday. It's technically an afternoon start. You're going to get the shadows in the ballpark. It's ungodly hot, and 2 good pitchers in decent form with their home road splits here. I would go under the total, as much as I hate to say that right now. That's just the vibe for this game for me. I do think you'd be able to hold those bats down for the Cardinals, and maybe Washington doesn't get off against Michaelis. Well, I just told you, that's some pretty good road splits. Give me the under in this game today, as much as I hate to say it. In that hot weather, that's hitting weather, man.
9.5. The under has the juice around a hot weekend in Major League Baseball for the 4th of July and beyond into the holiday weekend. We saw some big totals, a lot of double digits, a lot of big run sides for a team around MLB. And it's what you can expect as the weather gets warmer. We are just 1 week away from the Home Run Derby. A week ago yesterday, or a week from yesterday, better said, is exactly the final day before the All-Star break. We will be into it exactly 1 week from today. St. Louis playing really good baseball as of right now. They have won 11 of their last 16. The Nats on the other side of that spectrum. Only 7 games here in Major League Baseball. No games today in the WNBA. A day off in the W. Only 1 game on the slate for tomorrow. It's getting a little quiet. No action in the Euros. No action in Copa America until the semifinals begin tomorrow afternoon. So Major League Baseball are focused. So before we say farewell and before we say goodbye, it is time for a Monday Best Bet. It is time for Bye Bye Bye. Seven games, MLB. DRS, what is the best of all the bets on this Monday?
Let's go for an RBI prop here. And the game I like the best, with basically getting some runs across, that's going to be the Minnesota Twins. Got a great-looking lineup today, and none better than Jose Miranda in the middle of that lineup. 65 at-bats he's had against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. A 321 ISO power number and a 591 weighted on-base percentage. And Flexen has really struggled this season, particularly against lefty and righty batters as a whole. But I think that's probably the best way to go here. We'll go Jose Miranda with that high number, and I'm expecting Castro and Larnach to be on base. You don't even need a base hit to get that in. It's only a plus 105 price, which tells you this should happen tonight, and it will. Miranda to get an RBI.
Second time in the show you have mentioned Chris Flexen's name and not brought up Flexen.
Yeah.
You're Flexen.
Yeah, he got me last time. Yeah, I might have chided him last time because I expected Flexen to get blown up, and he turned to like Cy Flexen one time. So we'll get back to it after he gets blown away tonight. Yeah.
Okay, we like that. Good look from DRS. I'm also going RBI prop, those being scorned by being left off the National League All-Star team. Could it be Christian Walker tonight in Phoenix against Chris Sale? Like the pitching matchup better there for Sale. How about Francisco Lindor? 2 RBI game-winning single in the top of the 9th to win it for the Amazons yesterday. Trying to win the series, take 3 of 4 in Pittsburgh from the Buccos. Plus 140 for Frankie Francisco Lindor to deliver with an RBI today. Hot day inside PNC Park. But as Donnie told you, it's a pitcher's ballpark. It's why the total was 9.5. Now it's dropped to 8 and a hook. But one of those 7, 8, 9 runs, maybe off the bat, of Francisco Lindor. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. That does it for us on this Monday on the early line. More time to filibuster. Anything you want to say before we go?
I feel good, man. Woo, rested and ready for this week. Get ready, people. Football's close.
Some football futures talk tomorrow. It starts at 8 a.m. Eastern time here on the Grid.